Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Some humble obeisances, our glories to Gurudev, glories to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Magyanatimridasya Gyanan Gyanashalakaya Chakshuramaleitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunastam Vitam Tam Sanjivam Sarvetam Savarpitam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitam Scha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashri Tatmane Sri Maura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tetra Iti Namini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvese Sasunya Vadi Pasachade Satarini Vanchakalpatarabhyascha kripa sindubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Gauratrize Namaha Nityanando Vatutendo Ruvaso Dapana Valabaha Janavir Jivita Pati Krishna Prema Pradam Prabhu Padmavati Sutta Srimam Sachirananda Purvajaha Bhavam Mata Jagatra Tarakta Gora Kele Varaha Advaitam Harina Dvaita Acharyam Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavataram Itam Sham Advaita Acharya Ashraye Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankaja Nabaya, Nama Pankaja Maline, Nama Pankaja Nitraya, Namaste Pankaja Graye. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Suratao Pango Mama Madir Gatil Masarvaswa Padambu Jorada Mandana Mohano Divyar Vendaranya Kalpadrumanda Srimad Ranadgara Simhastana Stau Srila Govinda Devo Prishali Bisyamano Smarami Srimam Rasarasarambi Vam Sivata Tatastita Karusan Venuswanai Gopi Gopinata Sriyes Tunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Devi Krishna Mai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarvan Lakshmi Mai Sarvam Kanti Samohini Paraha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Nagayate Grim Yat Kripata Everyone is welcome to the discussion. We're discussing the instructions of Srila Rupa Goswami in his Upadeshamrita, the Nectar of Instruction, which is given to us by Srila Rupa Goswami for transforming us into at least Madhyama Adhikaris. Madhyama Adhikari means intermediate devotee. There is a Kanishta Adhikari, a neophyte devotee who has just begun devotional service. He doesn't understand many things about devotional service, but he's very sincere, and therefore he's taking association, and gradually he would advance. And by following the instructions of such exalted devotees like Rupa Goswami, he would graduate to the second level of devotional service, which is the Madhyama Adhikari. And that is what Rupa Goswami is expecting all of us, that by studying this Upadeshamrita and by applying it in our lives, we can at least rise to the platform of Madhyama Adhikari. Because it's on the platform of Madhyama Adhikari, we can actually engage in devotional service without offenses. On the neophyte platform, we still consider a lot of material considerations, a lot of material factors. And therefore, on that platform, we commit a number of offenses to the advanced devotees, a number of offenses to the process of bhakti, a number of offenses to the holy name, and a number of offenses to many things, and that check our progress. But as soon as we are able to progress to the level of Madhyama Adhikari, we can immediately understand the importance of performing devotional service without offenses. We can immediately understand the greatness of devotional service free from offenses. So Rupa Goswami's desire for giving us this book, Upadeshamrita, is to promote the neophyte devotee to the platform of Madhyama Adhikari. And from the platform of Madhyama Adhikari, with further efforts, with further attempts, with further mercy, with further guidance, with further association, one can actually come to the topmost platform, which is described as the Uttama Adhikari. I think today we should be able to reach there. Text 5. text 5 is discussing these three categories of devotees. So yesterday we discussed text 3, and we just entered into text 4, and our time ran out. So today we'll try to move a bit fast so that at least we can cover text 4 and 5 before our time runs out. So maybe we can look at text 4 again, because we didn't go very far. So Salika Prabhu, you can put the slides on the screen for us to see. Yeah, so I think we passed this, or when do we end? We ended on one slide, whether 16 or 18, I can't remember. Which of the slides do we? This, no. We didn't reach that. We finished with index 3.
The slide where we stopped yesterday.
Yeah. The slide yesterday. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is the slide where we stopped.
Yeah, we ended here. Yeah. So this is the continuation from yesterday. We look at text 3, text 4, which talked about the 6 loving exchanges that is practiced amongst devotees. After Rupa Goswami had talked about the one becoming a Goswami, that's the first verse, in order to practice Krishna consciousness and helping others in Krishna consciousness, he went on to talk about the 6 things that destroy bhakti. Then that's text 2. Those things that destroy the practice of bhakti, Srila Rupa Goswami discusses them in text 2. Then in text 3, he discusses those items that are very, very favorable for the practice of Krishna consciousness. Usahan nischarya dharya tatar karma pravartanat. That's what we discussed yesterday. Our main discussion was on these 6 favorable conditions that promote bhakti. So enthusiasm, patience, confidence, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, always associating with devotees and avoiding the association of non-devotees. So like this, Rupa Goswami gives us the guidance how to adopt favorable circumstances for our progress in Krishna consciousness. Then in text 4, Rupa Goswami shows us the way devotees relate, because devotional service is not practiced in a vacuum. Devotional service is practiced in the association of other devotees. Therefore, Rupa Goswami finds it very crucial, very important to give us the understanding of the need for associating with devotees. And so he talked about dadati pratigrinati guyam akyati prachati bhukti bujayati chaiva sadvidim priti lakshanam. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad offered by devotees, and offering prasadam to other devotees. These are the 6 symptoms of loving exchanges that is practiced in the association of devotees. So we can, that is the verse that is on the screen. Offering gifts in charities, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad and offering prasad. These are the symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. In the next slide, which we touched yesterday, next slide. The next slide, it says how to perform devotional service in the association of other devotees. So in this verse, Rupa Goswami explains how to perform devotional service in the association of other devotees. And then the 6 kinds of loving activities: giving charity, they are repeated: giving charity, accepting charitable gifts, opening one's mind to devotees, inquiring confidentially from devotees, honoring prasadam or spiritual food offered by devotees, and offering prasadam to devotees. So Srila Prabhupada repeats the same message. Then he went on to say that an experienced devotee explains and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. This is called Guyam Akyati Prichati. When a devotee distributes prasadam, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit devotional service, we must accept this prasad as a Lord's grace received through the pure devotees. We should also invite pure devotees to our homes and offer them prasadam and be prepared to please them in all respects. This is called Bhukti Bujayate Chaiva. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Puri, this was the daily affair. Every day, Lord Chaitanya was invited to a particular devotee's home. And Lord Chaitanya will go along with all his intimate followers, and they would honor prasadam in the home of such devotees. So it is said that the Chaitanya Charitamrita is the practical application of devotional service. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to demonstrate practically how this Krishna consciousness can be applied. Sometimes we theorize, we study the philosophy, we memorize the philosophy, but we fail to apply the philosophy. And so dry philosophy alone does not constitute devotional service. Devotional service includes application. So, and that is most important. Anybody can study the books. Even Ravana was a scholar. Ravana was very expert in Vedanta philosophy, but he did not apply that knowledge. Otherwise, he would not steal Lord Ramachandra's wife, Sita Devi, because he was not applying the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Even though he was a great scholar, he deviated. So if we just learn the philosophy We become erudite scholars in a philosophy, but we do not apply this knowledge in our lives, in our interactions, in our relationships. Then it simply becomes a dry theory. And it doesn't change the heart. It doesn't purify the mind. And it actually doesn't help us to make progress in Krishna consciousness. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu descended into this world to demonstrate how Krishna consciousness can be applied on a daily basis. So whatever we're studying, you can find the practical application in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And that is why it is recommended that we must all study Chaitanya Charitamrita in order to see the application of this knowledge. So, Srila Prabhupada is saying we have to apply. So that's the next slide. That's why we're supposed actually to begin from today. Wherever there is a dealing of love, intimate dealings, these six are executed. Even in ordinary social activities, these six types of dealings between two loving friends are absolutely necessary. For instance, when one businessman wishes to contact another businessman, he arranges a feast in a hotel, and over the feast, he openly expresses what he wishes to do. He then inquires from his business friend how he should act, and sometimes presents an exchange. Thus, whenever there is a dealing of pity or love in intimate dealings, these six activities are executed. In a previous verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advised that one should renounce worldly association and keep company with the devotees. Asa Sangatyaga Sartovrite. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate these six kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. This society was started single-handedly, but because people are coming forward and dealing with the give and take policy, the society is now expanding all over the world. We are glad that people are donating very liberally to the development of the society's activities, and people are also eagerly accepting whatever humble contribution we are giving them in the shape of books and magazines dealing strictly with the subject matter of Krishna consciousness. So it's amazing that because of these six dealings of love, the society is expanding. And it's a very clear indication. When Prabhupada went to America, he had no money. He only had 40-something rupees, 40 rupees, which was an equivalent of $7. That's all that Prabhupada had when he went to the US. His real thing was his books. He had a number of cartons of his first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. That was his real wealth. With physical cash was just $7. But with that, Srila Prabhupada was able to establish this International Society for Krishna Consciousness and establish many centers and build many temples. How did that happen? It all happened because of these six loving exchanges. Wherever these six loving exchanges are practiced, there is no limitation. We are building temples. We don't have money. I always tell devotees that the media temple, we did not even have money to pay for the building permit. We didn't have. But how did it come about? Loving exchanges is a give and take relationship, because we were exchanging the little we have in Krishna consciousness with others. People are inspired to come forward, and the same principle is still going on. People are donating. Why? Because they feel that loving exchange is going on to some degree. And so they feel inspired to give something. So these loving exchanges that Rupa Goswami is talking about are very, very essential, even in material dealings. In material dealings is a give and take relationship. If you do not give and you're always taking and taking and taking, people get fed up with you. That is natural. So everybody wants to give and everybody wants to take. They want an exchange of love. So for the promotion of Krishna consciousness, for the expansion of Krishna consciousness, we must practice these 6 loving exchanges amongst devotees. Actually, people are attracted to this Krishna consciousness because they can see that there is some loving exchanges between the devotees. And the more we amplify, the more we apply this, the more we expand these loving exchanges, the more people will step forward to help us expand the movement. So it is very important, these 6 loving exchanges, they are very crucial for the expansion of Krishna consciousness. We are at the moment in Moravia. Yesterday we had a lecture in one Indian man's home. Only ladies came. There were no men. Even the man in whose house we had a program, he was in his bedroom. He didn't come out. Only the ladies were there. But just by giving them knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, just by discussing Bhagavad Gita, all the ladies and the children were listening. And from nowhere, the man in the bedroom cannot hold himself. He came out because he was hearing the lecture going on, the exchange going on, knowledge sharing going on. He came out and became part of the program. And at the end of the program, he said, Swamiji, my house is open for you. You can always come here at any time and have program with anybody, and I will facilitate it because I am learning something from this your discussion. I'm born in India, but I never had time to read Bhagavad Gita. But today, you have brought back the message of Bhagavad Gita into my house, and you are sharing this knowledge with me. I was compelled to give him the only Bhagavad Gita I was carrying with me. I dashed it to him. I said, take it. This is your gift. Read it every day and share with others, and you'll be very happy. So the whole point I'm bringing forward is give and take. That is the practice of Krishna consciousness, and Rupa Goswami is making this very, very important, that we must be in a position to give and take amongst devotees. So next slide. Everyone should be given the chance to hear about Krishna. Exactly. Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, that love naturally awakens. Since Krishna consciousness is inherent in every living entity, everyone should be given a chance to hear about Krishna. Simply by hearing and chanting Shravanam Kirtanam, one's heart is directly purified and one's original Krishna consciousness is immediately awakened. Krishna consciousness is not artificially imposed upon the heart. It is already there. When one chants the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the heart is cleansed of all mundane contamination. So everyone should be given a chance to hear about Krishna consciousness. And that is the power of association. Devotees go out every day to give their association. Actually, that's what it means to preach. We are going out to give out books. We are going out to talk to people. We are going on the radio. We are going on the television. All of this is to give everybody the chance to hear about Krishna. And by offering this gift, Krishna consciousness is actually the greatest gift that we can give to humanity. And a devotee who is doing that is very dear to Krishna. So Krishna consciousness will thrive on a very fertile soil, because if you plant a crop on a arid land, on a dry land, on an infertile soil, you cannot expect the crops to grow. So therefore, these loving exchanges that Rupa Goswami is talking about creates that fertile land, that fertile soil by which we can nourish Krishna consciousness. Tomara age eta katara nahi prayojanaha. Gopinath Acharya, the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Acharya, he told Sarvabhauma Acharya that there is no need to plant seeds in a barren land. There is no need to attempt to grow crops in a land that is not fertile. It says, because you are a mental speculator, Sarvabhauma Acharya was described as Vidya Shiromani. Vidya Shiromani means he's a topmost scholar in knowledge in the whole of Puri. And in fact, it is even said somewhere, in the entire world, Sarvabhauma Acharya was considered the topmost scholar. And therefore, King Prataparudra made him his advisor. He was in charge of the Jagannath temple. But because he was not a devotee, he could not appreciate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in Puri, and in an attempt to embrace Lord Jagannath, he fainted right in front of the altar. And at that moment, Sarvabhauma Acharya was present. And so actually, the guards of the temple, they have never seen Lord Chaitanya before. And so they were thinking of beating him because it was forbidden for anyone to try to embrace the deity of Krishna, of Jagannath. But Lord Chaitanya, out of his ecstasy, wanted to embrace Lord Jagannath. But he fainted. Out of ecstasy, he could not reach the altar, and he fainted. So the security, they wanted to throw him out of the temple. But just that at that time, Sarvabhauma Acharya was there. And he said, no. This beautiful young sannyasi, take him to my house. So with the pandas, they carried Lord Chaitanya to Sarvabhauma Acharya's house. And then after some time, when the devotees who were coming with him, Lord Nityananda, Chandrasekhar Acharya, Jagannananda, and the rest of them who were coming with him from Mayapur, from Nadia, they arrived. And they were looking for the Lord, and they said, he has been carried to Sarvabhauma Acharya's house. So they went there. And Mahaprabhu was in deep meditation. So Sarvabhauma Acharya could not bring him back to consciousness. But the devotees, they know. So they chanted the holy name of Krishna into Lord Chaitanya's ear. And when he heard that, he came back to external consciousness. And some discussion was ensued between Lord Chaitanya and Sarvabhauma Acharya. At some point, Gopinath Acharya, the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Acharya, came. He was a great devotee. He understood Lord Chaitanya's position because he is from Bengal. So he was telling Sarvabhauma Acharya that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because you're a theoretical Mayavadi, you know so much, but you do not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Your heart and your mind is like a barren land, and therefore you cannot understand Krishna. So Gopinath Acharya gradually cracked the rock-like heart of Sarvabhauma Acharya. It is said that when one just studies philosophy, one just studies theory without practicing, his heart becomes very hard. Instead of becoming soft, instead of becoming loving, when we just study philosophy without applying, the heart becomes hard. So Gopinath Acharya, who is a pure devotee, he was able to crack the heart of Sarvabhauma Acharya and made him to understand the position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And actually, Lord Chaitanya was so kind to Sarvabhauma Acharya. Lord Chaitanya revealed to him his Sadbunja form. He revealed to him his six-armed form. And when Sarvabhauma Acharya saw that, he also fainted. Lord Chaitanya fainted, seeing Jagannath in the temple, and Sarvabhauma Acharya carried him to his house and engaged in a debate with the Lord. And the Lord revealed his Sadbunja form to Sarvabhauma Acharya, and he fainted. He fainted. And that was the beginning of his devotional service. So it is said that Sarvabhauma Acharya, after seeing this form of the Lord, his whole mind was changed, his heart was purified, it was softened. So from that moment, he started seeing himself as a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. And he would invite Chaitanya Mahaprabhu every week to his house to offer him a great, great prasadam. So these loving exchanges that Rupa Goswami is talking about, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu practiced it with all his devotees in Puri. He would speak for them to hear. He would give devotees gifts. He would accept gifts from the devotees. He would reveal the intimacy of Krishna consciousness to these devotees, and he would listen to devotees reveal their minds to him. So these six things must be present. Next slide, 25. So again, it says, people should be given the chance to associate with devotees. The members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness invite the society's members and supporters to dine with them when they hold love feasts in all their branches every Sunday. Many interested people come to honor prasad, and wherever possible, they invite members of the society to their homes and feed them sumptuously with prasad. In this way, both the members of the society and the general public are benefited. People should give up the company of so-called yogis, jnanis, karmis, and philanthropists because their association can benefit no one. If one really wants to attain the goal of human life, he should associate with devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement because it is the only movement that teaches one how to develop love of God. Religion is a special function of human society, and it constitutes the distinction between human society and animal society. Animal society has no church, no mosque, or religious system. In all parts of the world, however, downtrodden human society may be, there is some system of religion. So we can see that these six loving exchanges is what our Krishna consciousness movement is built upon. The Sunday feast, for instance, Srila Prabhupada started it. Very strategic. He makes nice prasadam, he invites people, and then lovingly offers this prasadam to them. And what happens? They come again and again and again. In fact, sometimes I used to say that if there were no Sunday feast, some of us would have become devotees. Some of us are prasadam devotees. When I went to the temple the first time, the first thing that attracted me was prasadam. I saw the deities on the altar. I didn't understand what they were. I saw Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. I was wondering who has put these birds here? Because I see Jagannath with big, big eyes. I was thinking maybe it's a bird. I have no understanding. But when I was given prasadam, there was no question. Prasadam was very tasty. Without meat, I enjoyed the prasad. And I started to think, these people, even though they have birds on their altar, they are enjoying prasadam here. They're enjoying food here. So I will come again next week. And so I went again next week. And then again and again I went. And before I realized, I was beginning to understand the deities, I was understanding the devotees, I was understanding the philosophy. And before I realized, I said, well, better I join them. Why go and come, go and come? Why don't I stay here? So these loving exchanges of offering prasadam to our guests is very important. Prabhupada started it. And that is how the society expanded. Therefore, it is said, Mani yache avikrite prashabe hema vara. Devotees are like touchstones. A touchstone can produce unlimited amount of gold. All that you need is bring the touchstone in touch with any metal. And that touchstone or chintamani will convert that metal into gold. Similarly, by giving people the opportunity to associate with devotees during this Sunday program, during these lectures, Bhagavatam lectures, Bhagavad Gita lectures, by giving them the opportunity to hear, they're like bell metal. They're like useless metal. But just by coming in touch with the Chintamani, the devotees of the Lord, they become devotees. So, we must make everything possible to give others the opportunity to associate with these Chintamani devotees. We have all become devotees because we had the opportunity to associate with the Chintamani touchstones, the devotees of the Lord. Next. Next slide, Prabhu. One should not disclose, we should not disclose our minds to Mayavadis and Karmis. The Mayavadis and other atheists do not want the Krishna consciousness movement to develop because it educates people in God consciousness. Such is the policy of the atheists. There is no benefit in feeding a snake milk and bananas because the snake will never be satisfied. On the contrary, by taking milk and bananas, the snake simply becomes more poisonous. If a snake is given milk to drink, its poison simply increases. For a similar reason, we should not disclose our minds to the serpent, Mayavadis, and Karmis. Such disclosures will never help. It is best to completely avoid associating with them and never ask them about anything confidential because they cannot give any good advice. nor should we extend invitations to Mayavadis and atheists or accept their invitations, for by such intimate intermingling, we may become affected by the atheistic mentality, Sangat Sanjayate Karma. It is the negative injunction of this verse that we should refrain from giving anything to or accepting anything from the Mayavadis and the atheists. So, association creates the conditions of our minds. Narada Muni tells King Prachinabarisat, he was a ritualistic king, performing so many yagyas every day. As soon as he finished performing one yagya, he will leave and start another one. As soon as he finished performing one yagya, he will leave and start another one. So everywhere there were so many yagya kuns and so many animals sacrificed. So Narada Muni came to help him out. So Narada Muni tells him, Tasya tadrisham rajan lingono deha sambhavam. That my dear king, everyone has a subtle mental covering. Linga means the subtle body. Everybody has a subtle body called linga or linga sharira, the subtle body. And this develops all kinds of thoughts and images because of our association. So by associating with different environments, with different circumstances, with different kinds of people, we give room to our mind to develop certain tendencies. And that is why associating with devotees is very important. When we associate with devotees, we hear about Krishna, we discuss Krishna. We are absorbed in Kirtan, we are absorbed in Krishna Katha, Hari Katha. Then we give chance to the mind to develop transcendental qualities. Otherwise, when we associate with karmis and jnanis and yogis, then what happened? The mind would pick up such vibrations, and that is what the mind will develop. And that will give us our next birth, our next life. So therefore, it is said here, Prabhupada is saying we should never disclose. We should not associate with karmis and jnanis and yogis, neither should we disclose our minds to them, because they cannot help us in any way. They can only help us to become more and more degraded. They can only help us to give up the practice of Krishna consciousness. And that is no help. That is a disadvantage for a bhakta. So therefore, a devotee should not associate with people who are not practicing Krishna consciousness, because they would create an unfavorable condition for the mind, and the mind will pick up such unfavorable conditions, and it becomes difficult for the mind to develop Krishna consciousness. But if we associate with the Chintamani-like devotees, the touchstone-like devotees, who are always discussing Krishna consciousness, who are always glorifying the Supreme Lord, performing kirtan, preaching Krishna consciousness, one will by all means pick up that vibration, and that will facilitate our development or our attachment to Krishna consciousness, and the mind will become inclined to developing a favorable circumstance, condition for progressing in Krishna consciousness, and that will give us a better life, a better body in our next destination. Next verse, next slide. So we should never reveal our minds to Mayavadis or Jnanis or Yogis because they cannot help us. Always keep company of devotees and observe the regulated devotional principles. The conclusion is that one should always keep company with devotees, observe the regulated devotional principles, follow in the footsteps of acharyas in all obedience, carry out the orders of the spiritual master. In this way, we shall be able to develop our devotional service and dormant Krishna consciousness. The devotee who is neither a neophyte nor a Mahabhagavat, a greatly advanced devotee, but is within the middle status of devotional service, is expected to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, make friends with the devotees, show favor to the ignorant, and reject jealous and demonic. In this verse, there is brief mention of the process of making loving transactions with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and making friends with the devotees. So the Madhyama Adhikari has a better understanding and a better way of dealing with all classes of people. The Madhyama Adhikari, he sees the neophyte, he sees the ignorant, he sees the envious, he sees the advanced devotee, and he relates to them accordingly. So the neophyte he can share with. That is why it is important for one to rise to the platform of the Madhyama Adhikari. So in order to progress in our Krishna consciousness, it is important to make progress in Krishna consciousness. It is said, Krishna Bahimurka Hana Boga Vancha Kare Nikata Stamaya Tare Japata Dare. That the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme enjoyer. But when a living entity is desiring to imitate the Lord, he's desiring to act as the Lord, he's desiring to also enjoy that the Lord gives us the opportunity to come into the material creation where we can attempt to imitate him. So we are here to imitate Krishna. And actually, we are all imitating Krishna. But when we gain the association of devotees, we gain knowledge, we gain understanding, we gain the proper etiquette, and then we give up that mentality of trying to imitate the Lord. So that is the power of devotee association. That's why it is said here, always keep company of devotees and observe the regulatory principles of devotional service. By observing the regulatory principles of devotional service, we are giving up the tendency, the inclination towards trying to become enjoyers. When we follow the principles of Krishna consciousness, when we follow the principles of Bhakti, we are saying that we want to give up the tendency to become enjoyers of the material energy. We want to offer everything in the service of the Lord. And that is the benefit of devotee association. Without devotee association, we can understand this. Everyone is competing. The material world is a place of competition. Everyone is competing with another person to become supreme, to become the richest, to become the most knowledgeable, to become the most popular, to become the most powerful, to become the most beautiful, to become the most this, to become the most that. That is what material life is all about. Competition to occupy the topmost position. And if I cannot, I pull you down. If I can compete with you, I'll find ways and means to pull you down. PhD. So, in the devotee association, such things should not be there. There shouldn't be a question of pulling somebody down. the devotee should always act to help others go up. And by helping others to go up, Krishna will also favor you to go up. But if you take pleasure in pulling people down, sorry, Krishna will never favor you, because Krishna wants everybody to become a devotee. And so our duty is to make sure we extend that association, that good association, that transcendental association, sadhu sangha, to everyone, so that they can all become devotees. And that is possible where the 6 exchanges of love are practiced. As soon as we start practicing these 6 exchanges of love, people will be attracted, because people are looking for these things. They want to exchange love with the Supreme Lord. They want to exchange love with every living entity, but all they are getting is hatred. All they are getting is jealousy. All they are getting is envy because of material competition. So the spiritual atmosphere must be free from envy, free from jealousy, free from this kind of material competition. It should be a place of love. These 6 exchanges must be prominent. Then we can attract more and more people to take to Krishna consciousness. That is our responsibility as devotees of the Lord. Next slide. Next slide, slide 29, I guess. I think, Salika Prabhu, you can read this verse for us, this slide for us.
Srila Rupa Goswami says the standard for all to follow. According to the Dadati principle, an advanced devotee is supposed to spend at least 50% of his income on the service of the Lord and his devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami has set such an example in his life. When he decides to retire, he distributed 50% of his life's earnings to Krishna's service and 25% to his relatives, and kept 25% for personal emergencies. This example should be followed by all devotees. Whatever one's income, 50% should be spent on behalf of Krishna and his devotees, and this will fulfill the demands of the Dati, Nectar of Instruction, chapter 4, purpose.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, so giving donations, supporting the Krishna conscious movement with donations is actually part of the Dadati principle. So Rupa Goswami, being the Acharya, he is setting the example here. When Rupa Goswami retired as a finance minister from the government of Nawab Hussain Shah, he had a boat full of gold coins as his retirement income. A whole boat, a big boat full of gold coins. That was his gratia, his retirement income. So what did Rupa Goswami do? He divided the gold, the boatload of gold, into 4 parts. 2 parts he gave to the Brahmanas. That's 50%. He gave to the Brahmanas for the promotion of Krishna consciousness. 1 part he gave to the relatives. He saved that for his brother Sanatana Goswami. He left him with a grocer for his brother Sanatana Goswami. And then 1 part he took it with him on his journey to Vrindavan. So this is the standard. Our Acharya, Sampradaya Acharya, Rupa Goswami is described as the Sampradaya Acharya of the Krishna consciousness movement. So that's the standard he set. When Prabhupada introduced this standard, it was not very easy for the working class. Of course, some devotees did their best, like Sastri Maharaj and Brahmananda Prabhu. Brahmananda was a teacher when he joined Srila Prabhupada's movement. He was teaching in the high school, secondary school. And his salary was $400 a month. When Brahmananda will receive his salary, he does not take one penny out. He will bring the whole envelope of $400 and offer it at the feet of Srila Prabhupada. Then Srila Prabhupada will ask him, how much transport do you need to go to school every day for the whole month? And Brahmananda will tell Prabhupada, I need $30, $1 a day to go to school. And Prabhupada would take the $30 and give it to Brahmananda Swami. And that is why he will spend for the whole month. At the end of the month, again, he will bring a whole package and give it to Prabhupada. That was the case of Brahmananda because he was living in the temple. But there were some other devotees who were not living in the temple, like Sastri Maharaj. In the beginning, he wasn't living in the temple. He was working as a journalist. So he would take his salary. Prabhupada said, bring half of your salary. So Sastri Maharaj would bring half of his salary and offer it to Prabhupada. But along the line, some devotees felt to give 50%. The other 50 will not be enough for maintaining the house. So they approached the Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, all right, there are no hard and fast rules. Even though Rupa Goswami has set an example, at this time, you can make it 25%. So that is, of course, some devotees are still giving the 50%. In India, I know a number of devotees, like Natji Prabhu. At the end of the year, when he declares his profit, his business profit, he would give 50% of the profit to ISKCON. He was such a special soul. May Krishna award him pure love. He has passed away, he's no more with us. But he was such a devotee. I was in a class in Chopati one day when Govinda Prabhu, the temple president by then, was talking about this. And then he was saying that Prabhupada had reduced the 50% to 25%. And then he joked, he cracked a joke. He said, well, if Prabhupada had reduced the 50% to 25%, then why am I giving 50% of my profit every year? I also reduced it to 25%. So he made a joke and everybody laughed. And he said, well, I'm just joking. Rupa Goswami is our Sampradaya Acharya. So he gave 50%. I'm committed to the 50%. At the end of the year, when they declare profit, I'm going to give 50% of my profit to Krishna consciousness. And that's why the Chopati project became so successful, because there were big guys like him, Srinathji, Krishna Chandra Prabhu, and many others who were following this principle. At the end of the year, their total profit from their business, they will divide it into two, and they will give the 50% to Radharani Maharaj for preaching. And that's why their project has become very successful. So anyway, at least we can give 25%. If anybody wants to follow as Rupa Goswami's example of giving 50% of his income for the promotion of Krishna consciousness, that is his own credit, his own benefit. But if it is not possible, at least Rupa Goswami set an example, and Prabhupada said devotees can give 25%. So we should be giving 25% of our income for promoting Krishna consciousness. Next verse, next slide. I think 32 or 30. I think it's 29, 30. 30 says that this is the summary of verse 4, the essence of the text 4. In this verse, Rupa Goswami explains how to perform devotional service an association of other devotees. ISKCON has been established to facilitate the 6 loving exchanges between devotees. An ordinary man can carefully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness simply by reciprocating in the 6 ways of loving exchange with devotees. One desire and ambitions develop according to the company he keeps. Distributing the holy names is a sublime example of the Dadati principle. The negative injunction of this verse is that one should refrain from giving or receiving from the Mayavadis and atheists. In the 4th verse, there is a brief mention of the process of developing love for the devotees. So these exchanges between devotees give us the opportunity to develop affection for each other. And without developing affection for each other, it is not possible for us to make progress in Krishna consciousness. It is said that the Lord is present where devotees associate very sweetly. When devotees associate very sweetly, Krishna is present. Yatra Narayana Shakshat Bhagavan Nyashinam Gatihi Samsta Yate Sat Katashu Mukta Sangha Pura Punaha. The Supreme Lord Narayan is personally present among devotees who are engaged in hearing and chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord. So, where the devotees are relating very nicely, very sweetly with these 6 exchanges going on, Lord Narayan is present. Lord Narayan is happy, and he becomes manifest. Shrutena tapasa vakim vachobhischita vitibhir. Without devotional service, what is the meaning of severe austerities? What is the meaning of the power of speech? What is the meaning of mental speculation? What is the meaning of sense control? So devotee association is very, very important. And we must facilitate that by distributing ourselves, by going out to preach, by encouraging devotees to come together. And when we come together, we should try to practice these 6 exchanges so that we can expand the devotee association. We can expand the number of Vaishnavas. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada used to say that the duty of the devotees is to increase the number of Vaishnavas on the planet Earth. And by so doing, we are decreasing the number of atheists. We are decreasing the number of demons. We are decreasing the number of Mayavadis. We are decreasing the number of Gyanis. And we are decreasing the number of yogis just by the single act of expanding Krishna consciousness, just by the single act of giving Krishna consciousness to others. We automatically increase the Vaishnava population and we decrease the population of all others. And this is our real business. So we go to the next verse, which is verse 5. I hope we can finish today. Next verse, verse 5. Next slide. So the next slide is talking about the 3 types of devotees. We already mentioned a little bit about that in our discussion, so I think we will not delay on this subject. So it says, text 5 says, Krishneti yasya giri tam manashadriyata dikshasti chet pranatibirscha bhajatam isham Surusriyas Surusrusaya Bajana Vigyam Anya Ananyam Anya Nidati Sunya Hiridam Ifshita Sangha Labdya. The translation is, one should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and is engaged in worshiping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So, our advancement in Krishna consciousness can be assessed by our degree or our inclination to criticizing others. Rupa Goswami mentions that here. The propensity to criticize is very strong in the conditioned soul, very strong. Because we are full of faults, we easily see faults in others. One who is becoming purified, one who is becoming advanced, he doesn't see the fault in others. He only sees good qualities in others. But one who is not advancing, one who has so many faults, poking his eyes, poking his nose, poking everywhere, he cannot see anything good in others. All that he sees are his own faults, because his whole mind is full of faults, his whole life is full of faults, his whole activity is full of faults. So he projects that onto other living entities. So here, Rupa Goswami is giving us a clue of who is an advanced devotee. As our inclination to criticize others decreases, it is an indication that we are becoming advanced. Because an advanced devotee is always appreciating others, always. He looks at the positive side of things. It is said that there are pessimists and optimists. If you have a half glass of water, the pessimist will say the glass is half empty. He doesn't see the other half, which is full. He only sees the other half, which is not full. So according to his definition, he will say the glass is half empty. But an optimist will say the opposite. An optimist will say the glass is half full. He appreciates what is already there in the glass. But a pessimist does not see what is already in the glass. He's seeing what is absent in the glass. So an advanced devotee is an optimist. He sees the good qualities of others. And a less advanced devotee is a pessimist. He only sees the bad side of others. So the barometer for our advancement in Krishna consciousness is not how much knowledge we have. It is not how old we have been in the system. It is not the position we occupy. All these are external. They're external. How long you have been in the movement is external. The position you occupy, temple president, temple commander, vice president, GBC, whatever, these are all external. They're external. They won't take you back home, back to Godhead. They will not. They will not. What is important is the quality of a Vaishnava that we are developing. That is what will take us back home, back to Godhead. To associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we have to develop divine qualities. Certainly. We cannot enter the spiritual atmosphere with envy. We cannot enter the spiritual atmosphere with jealousy. We cannot enter the spiritual atmosphere with hatred. It's not possible. The material world is for this, and that is why we are here. But we can't carry these things into the spiritual world. Not possible. So long as we still entertain these things, then we belong here. We remain here. We can't go there. So Rupa Goswami is very apt in giving us good instruction. And our duty is to study these things very carefully and apply them in our lives. So here Rupa Goswami is talking about the 3 categories of devotees. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide. Slide, yeah, thank you. 3 kinds of devotees. In this verse, he tells us how to deal with the 3 types of devotees: the Kanista Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. The Kanista Adhikari is a neophyte who has received the Harinam initiation from the spiritual master and is trying to chant the holy names of Krishna. One should respect such a person within his mind as a Kanista Vaishnava. A Madhyama Adhikari has received spiritual initiation from the spiritual master and has been fully engaged by him in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Madhyama Adhikari should be considered to be situated midway in devotional service. The Uttama Adhikari, or highest devotee, is one who is very advanced in devotional service. And Uttama Adhikari is not interested. And Uttama Adhikari is not interested in blaspheming others. His heart is completely clean, and he has attained the realized state of unalloyed Krishna consciousness. According to Rupa Goswami, the association of and service of such a Mahabhagavat or perfect Vaishnavas are most desirable. So here, the 3 categories of devotees are nicely described. For the neophyte devotee, it is mentioned in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, I think verse 47. It says, Acharyam eva haraye pujamya shradayate hate tat natat bhakteshu chanyeshu sadbhakta prakrita simritaha. A devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple, but does not behave properly toward other devotees or the people in general, is called a prakrita bhakta, or a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be in the lowest position of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Srila Vanacari comments that one in the lowest stage of devotional service faithfully worships the deity in the temple, but is not aware that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually all-pervading. This mentality can be seen in Western countries, where people commit all types of sinful activities in their homes and in the street, but then previously they go to the church and pray to God for mercy. Actually, God is in our home. God is on the street. God is in our office. God is in the forest. God is everywhere and is watching us, what we are doing. Therefore, God should be worshipped everywhere, not only in the church, temple, mosque, or in some corner. He is everywhere. So the neophyte devotee, he thinks that God is in the temple. God is on the altar. And so when he comes before the altar, there he will show his bhakti. But when he leaves the temple and leaves the altar, then he behaves otherwise. And that is the mentality of Christians, Muslims, and all these people. They only go to the mosque to behave like holy people. They go to the church to behave like holy people. But as soon as they leave the church, they become demons. They act otherwise. That is the neophyte devotee. A Madhyama Adhikari understands that Krishna is everywhere. A Madhyama Adhikari understands that Krishna is everywhere. God is everywhere. So everywhere God is there, is watching us. Sarvatra Pani Shrutam. God is everywhere. Everywhere are his legs. Everywhere are his hands. Everywhere are his ears. everywhere are his eyes. Krishna is saying that in Bhagavad Gita. God is everywhere. So a Madhyama Adhikari, a middle-class devotee, intermediate devotee, understands that Krishna is watching me 24 hours. Krishna is with me every moment. Therefore, I must behave well. Therefore, I must do the right things. Therefore, I must always abide by the law of Krishna consciousness, the principles of Krishna consciousness. That is the beginning of a devotee who is trying to make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Next slide, Prabhu. The character of a Kanishta Adhikari. One should not remain a Kanishta Adhikari, one who is situated on the lowest platform of devotional service and is interested only in worshiping the deity in the temple. Such a devotee is described in the 11th canto. It's already here. Acharya mivaharaye pujayo shradaya hate natat bhakteshu chayeshu bhakta prakrite smaritaha. A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple, but who does not know how to behave towards devotees or people in general is called a prakrita bhakta or kanishta adhikari. We already discussed that. Let's go to the next slide. The character of a Madhyama Adhikari. One therefore has to raise himself from the position of Kanishta Adhikari to the platform of Madhyama Adhikari. The Madhyama Adhikari is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 2nd chapter, verse 46 in this way. Ishore tat adineshu baleseshu duisasu cha prema maitri kripopecha yat karoti sammadhyamaha. The Madhyama Adhikari is a devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the highest object of love. He makes friends with the Lord's devotees and is merciful to the ignorant and avoids those who are envious by nature. So this is the second class, the middle level of a devotee. He has migrated, he has transformed, he has moved from the Kanishta platform, where he is busy ignoring others, criticizing others, offending others. That is the business of a Kanishta devotee. A Kanishta devotee he commits so many offenses, he criticizes everybody, he sees himself as the best devotee and others are nonsense. That is Kanishta consciousness. As we advance on the path of Krishna consciousness, our vision will change. We will see others more advanced than us. That is a sign that we are making progress. But if we are on the platform of always thinking that we are better than that person, it means we are still in the Kanishta platform. So here, it says that the intermediate devotee, he worships the Supreme Lord as the highest object of love. He makes friends with the Lord's devotees. He's merciful to the ignorant, and he avoids those who are envious, the non-devotees who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Rupa Goswami is very clear on these points. So we don't need somebody to point a torch at us. By studying Sri Upadeshamrita, we can understand our position. By studying Upadeshamrita, we will be able to understand where we are supposed to be. It's not a matter of years. It's not our position. It's not how expert we are in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. All of these things are external. The real thing is developing a humble attitude, developing a meek attitude, a devotee by nature is very humble. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes Sanatana Goswami as the example of a great Vaishnava, because Sanatana Goswami was so humble. Haridas Thakur also, very humble. Raghunath Das Goswami, very humble. Many devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they epitomized humility. And that is the requirement for chanting Krishna consciousness. Chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That is a requirement for making progress in Krishna consciousness. Trinara pisunichina taro apisahisnuna manena manandena kirtaniya sadahari. Without humility in our minds, without humility in our hearts, we cannot chant Hare Krishna. We can only rub the words. There are two levels of chanting. You can chant the syllables of the mantra, and you can actually chant the mantra. When you are offensive, when you are antagonistic to devotees, the holy name does not manifest before you. The holy name will manifest only the syllables. You chant the syllables, all right, but you will never experience any pleasure chanting the holy names. The holy name is very sweet. I think the next verse, which is verse 6, discusses the sweetness of the holy name. And one who is a Madhyama Adhikari will begin to taste the nectarian nature of Krishna consciousness, which includes the holy name. So we should cultivate the right attitude so that we can make progress in our Krishna consciousness. This one says how to treat different devotees. This is the way to cultivate devotional service properly. Therefore, in this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami has advised how to treat various devotees. We can see from practical experience that there are different types of Vaishnavas. The Prakrita Sahajyas generally chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, yet they are attached to women, money, and intoxication. So these are the tendencies of a Prakrita Sahajya devotee, Prakrita devotee. Neophyte devotee. It's attached to women, it's attached to money, it's attached to prestige, it's attached to intoxication. Although such persons may chant the holy name of the Lord, they are not yet properly purified. Such people should be respected within one's mind, but their association should be avoided. Those who are innocent but simply carried away by bad association should be shown favor if they are eager to receive proper instructions from pure devotees. Those neophyte devotees who are actually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master and are seriously engaged in carrying out the orders of the spiritual master should be offered respectful obeisances. So if one is initiated and one is trying in his best to carry out the orders of the spiritual master, such a person, he deserves our obeisances. He deserves our respect because he's carrying out the order of the spiritual master. Next slide. Our time is racing. I think it's already, we have less than 20 minutes to complete this lesson. So everyone is invited to this movement. In this Krishna conscious movement, a chance is given to everyone without discrimination of caste, creed, or color. Everyone is invited to join this movement, sit with us, take prasadam, and hear about Krishna Katha. When we see that someone is actually interested in Krishna consciousness and wants to be initiated, we accept him as a disciple for the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. When a neophyte devotee is actually initiated and engaged in devotional service by the orders of the spiritual master, he should be accepted immediately as a bona fide Vaishnava, and obeisances should be offered unto him. Out of many such Vaishnavas, one may be found to be very seriously engaged in the service of the Lord and strictly following all the regulatory principles. chanting the prescribed number of rounds on japa beats, and always thinking of how to expand the Krishna conscious movement. Such a Vaishnava should be accepted as an Uttama Adhikari, a highly advanced devotee, and its association should always be sought. So here, the Uttama Adhikari is described. Uttama Adhikari. In the 11th canto, 2nd chapter, verse 46, it says, Sarva Bhuteshu ya Pashat Bhagavad Bhavam Atmanaha. Bhutani Bhagavati Atmani Isa Bhagavato Tamaha. Bhagavato Tamaha. Bhagavat Uttamaha. Bhagavato Tamaha. Bhagavat Uttamaha. That devotee who is the topmost, Uttama, above the most of nature, above this dark, ignorant world. He is the topmost devotee. So that is the goal of Krishna consciousness. The goal is to transform us from our gross levels, from our impure platforms of material contamination to the exalted platform of pure bhakti. That is what this Krishna consciousness is meant. There is only one goal in Krishna consciousness, how to become purified, because that is what qualifies a soul to associate with Krishna. Sometimes we misunderstand the goal of Krishna consciousness. Of course, different people come to Krishna consciousness with different mindsets. Some people want mysticism, some people want popularity, some people want money, some people want fame, some people want this, they want that. People come with all kinds of desires into Krishna consciousness. But those who are fortunate, they listen, they hear, they associate, and they abandon all those other desires that brought them to Krishna consciousness, and they take to the pure Krishna consciousness, and they become very exalted. Of course, Krishna himself glorifies there's 4 kinds of people who come to him. The Gigyansus, those who are inquisitive. The artists, those who desire money. Those who are distressed, and those who are seeking for knowledge. Krishna calls them as magnanimous souls, pious souls. Anybody who comes to Krishna is considered a pious soul. But we should not remain on that platform of a pious soul. We should use that piety of getting in touch with Krishna to go ahead, to make advancement, to give up all the material propensities, material desires, material inclinations, and become a first-class devotee. That is when you can actually experience the joy of Krishna consciousness. Man bhaktim labate param. Na shokati, na kangshati, man bhakti labate param. Krishna says, when we give up the hankering and the lamentation, then pure devotional service begins. And on that platform, one can experience the joy of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, and we allow all these lower desires, lower goals to engage us, then we will not taste Krishna consciousness. And at some point, we begin to doubt whether this Krishna consciousness is actually spiritual, because we are not tasting anything divine. So therefore, everyone is invited to this movement to associate with devotees and make progress by following the great devotees like the Uttama Adhikaris. Next slide. The importance of spiritual initiation. Diksha kale bhakta kare admasma pana se kale Krishna tare kare admasama. At the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders to the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as himself. Diksha, or spiritual initiation, is explained in the Bhakti Sandarbha by Srila Goswami. Divyat Divyam Gyanam Yato Dadyat Kuriyat Papasya Sakshayam Tasmat Dikshiti Satprokta Dikshikais Tantra Konvidai. By Diksha, one gradually becomes disinterested in the material enjoyment and gradually becomes interested in spiritual life. So the purpose of Diksha is to reduce our material fever and increase our spiritual desires. That is the purpose of initiation. Sanatana Goswami compares initiation to the alchemical process of converting a bell metal, a useless bell metal, into gold by the alchemical process of using mercury. By alchemistry, one can use mercury to convert common metals like lead, iron, to become gold. So initiation is compared to that. An ordinary materialist, an ordinary karmist takes to the process of bhakti and he's giving initiation. He's connected. Actually, initiation means connection with Krishna. And that's why here it is said at the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders to the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as himself. So initiation means we become connected to the Supreme Lord. And if we are sincere and we demonstrate our sincerity, Krishna accepts us to be as good as himself. What else should we expect from Krishna consciousness than Krishna accepting us to be as good as himself? That's amazing. Just by initiation, and we demonstrate our sincerity, and we demonstrate our seriousness, Krishna immediately accepts us to be as good as himself. What a great opportunity, what a great gift that we are given by the spiritual master. And so we have to learn to obey him, we have to learn to serve him, we have to learn to worship him, because he has given us the greatest opportunity how to connect with Krishna. We'll go to the next verse, Prabhu. The next slide, because time is going. And I want to finish this lesson today. The quality for accepting Diksha. When a person is serious about accepting Diksha, he must be prepared to practice austerity, celibacy, and control of the mind and body. If one is so prepared and is desirous of receiving spiritual enlightenment, Divyam Gyanam, he is fit for being initiated. Divyam Gyanam is technically called Tattva Vigya, or knowledge about the Supreme. When one is interested in transcendental subject matter of the absolute truth, he should be initiated. Such a person should approach a spiritual master in order to take Diksha. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3.21 also prescribes Tasmat Gurum Prapadyata Gigansu Sriyam Uttamam. When one is actually interested in the transcendental science of the absolute truth, he should approach a spiritual master. So initiation is not meant for everybody. It is only meant for those who want to be serious in spiritual life. Of course, in Kali Yoga, we do everything as a fashion. People join an organization out of fashion, may belong to a church because their friend belongs to a church. They belong to a church because the church dressed in a particular way. They belong to a church because the pastor is very rich. They belong to a church because of some external reasons, material reasons. You see, but actually, that shouldn't be the goal. That should be the standard. The standard should be, we want the absolute knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That should be our reason for taking initiation. We should take initiation because we are eager to receive knowledge about the absolute Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are desirous of knowing who is God, where is God, how can I connect with him? That is Krishna Tattva. the devotee must desire Krishna Tattva. That is what it means said here. Krishna Tattva, Prema Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Ara. Bhava Tattva, Lila Tattva, Rasa Tattva, Sara. The devotee must desire to know about the truth of Krishna, the truth of Bhakti, the truth of love of Godhead, the truth of Bhava, emotional devotional service, the truth of Rasa, mellows, and the truth of the pastimes of the Lord. A devotee must desire this, and based on this, he wants to hear, he wants to study, he wants to associate. And such a devotee is a good candidate for making advancement in Krishna consciousness. So therefore, one can take Diksha, one can be initiated when one shows such desire to make progress in Krishna consciousness. Next slide, Prabhu. To accept a spiritual master means to be inquisitive. One should not accept a spiritual master without following his instructions, nor should one accept a spiritual master just to make a fashionable show of spiritual life. One must be Gigyansu, very much inquisitive, to learn from the bona fide spiritual master. The inquiries one makes should strictly pertain to transcendental knowledge. Gigyansu Shramam Uttamam. The word Uttamam refers to that which is above material knowledge. Tama means the darkness of this material world, and Ut means transcendental. Generally, people are very interested in inquiring about mundane subject matters. But when one has lost such interest and is simply interested in transcendental subject matters, it's quite fit for being initiated. When one is actually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master, and when one he seriously engages in the service of the Lord, he should be accepted as a Madhyama Adhikari. So, accepting a spiritual master is a sign of our interest in Krishna consciousness. And if we advance that interest, we promote that interest, we push that interest, then we can come to the platform of Madhyama Adhikari. So the goal of taking initiation from the spiritual master is not just for a fashionable purpose, that, oh, I also have a spiritual name, oh, I also have a spiritual master, okay, I can add some abbreviations to my name, BTS, no, or ACBPS, no, that is not the purpose. The purpose is to actually take to the process of Krishna consciousness and become a Madhyama Adhikari, become a middle-class devotee, an intermediate devotee, because on that platform, one can begin to appreciate this Krishna consciousness. One can begin to taste this Krishna consciousness. One can begin to enjoy his practice of Krishna consciousness because he is now properly linked to the Krishna. So that is the purpose of getting initiated. Next slide, Prabhu. Offenseless chanting is necessary for making advancement in Krishna consciousness. The chanting of the holy name of Krishna is so sublime that if one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra offenselessly, carefully avoiding the 10 offenses, he can certainly be gradually elevated to the point of understanding that there is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself. One who has reached such an understanding should be very much respected by neophyte devotees. One should know for certain that without chanting the holy name of the Lord offenselessly, one cannot be a proper candidate for advancement in Krishna consciousness. This is a very serious warning here, that one should know for certain that without chanting the holy name of the Lord offenselessly, one cannot be a proper candidate for advancement in Krishna consciousness. And what is that proper attitude, proper method? Is to chant offenselessly. So offensive chanting means those offenses we recite every morning. If we are repeating those offenses every day, then our chanting is offensive. There is offensive chanting, There is Namabas chanting and there is Shuddhanam chanting. The neophyte devotee beginner, he chants the holy name while committing all these 11 offenses, which we recite every morning. He's committing all of them. And so his progress is very, very minimal, very small. But he's supposed to clear these offenses by the association of devotees, by hearing, by practicing. He gradually reduces the offenses to the level of Namabas. Namabas means he is no more of committing any offense. He's on the neutral platform. Then progress becomes very fast. When you get to the Namabas platform, your progress towards Krishna consciousness becomes very speedy. Then one can go to the Shuddhanam when the holy name will manifest. In the neophyte stage, the name of Krishna is different from Krishna. Chintamani, Krishna's Vigras. Binatvam Namino Namaha. The name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. Binatvam Namino Namaha. Krishna and his name are identical. They're identical. They're the same. But for a neophyte devotee, he cannot differentiate. He cannot make the difference. So we need to avoid offenses so that we can gradually rise to the platform when we can see that Krishna is present in his name. Rupa Goswami says, when I chant the holy names of Krishna, Krishna begins to dance on my tongue, and I desire many tongues so that I can enjoy chanting. And when the sound vibration of the holy name enters into the courtyard of my heart, there is unlimited happiness. First, when the sound enters the ears, there is great pleasure, and I desire a million ears so that I can hear this sweet holy name. And when the sweetness of the holy name enters the courtyard of the heart, then I am drowned in love of Godhead. I'm drowned in the joy of Krishna consciousness. So this is what the neophyte devotee is missing if he is still committing offenses in chanting the holy names. So we must try as hard as possible to give up offensive chanting so that we can actually taste the holy name and relish Krishna consciousness. Then we can give it to others. We can distribute to others. If we are enjoying Krishna consciousness, we will want to give it to others. We want to invite others. But if we are suffering in Krishna consciousness, we are not eager to bring other people in because we feel it's not the best place to be. But if we are enjoying Krishna consciousness, we want to preach more and introduce Krishna consciousness to many people so that they can also enjoy what I am enjoying. That's natural. So this is necessary. Next slide. Everyone begins devotional service from the neophyte stage. One whose faith is soft and pliable is called a neophyte, but by gradually following the process, he will rise to the platform of a first-class devotee. Everyone begins the devotional life from a neophyte stage, but if one properly finishes chanting the prescribed number of rounds of Harinam, he is elevated step by step to the highest platform, Uttama Adhikari. The Krishna conscious movement prescribes 16 rounds daily because people in the Western countries cannot concentrate for long periods while chanting on beats. Therefore, the minimum number of rounds is prescribed. However, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that unless one chants at least 64 rounds of japa, that is 100,000 names, he is considered patita, fallen. So when Prabhupada went to the West, he introduced the 64 rounds. But it was difficult for the devotees because the Western mind is always agitated. So they could not. So Prabhupada reduced it to 32. Still, they could not. So he further reduced it to 16. And even then, some devotees still went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, can you make it 8? And Prabhupada said, no. 16 is the rock bottom. And every devotee must try to chant these 16 rounds a day. So actually, 16 rounds is just the basic number we should not just finish 16 rounds and we are done. No, 16 is the basic. We should add something. My Guru Maharaj told me, if you cannot chant 82 rounds, chant 25 rounds every day. That's what my Guru Maharaj told me. So I've been trying to keep that. Sometimes I chant 82 rounds, and some days I'm not able to, so I chant my 25 rounds. 16 is just basic. We should chant more than 16 rounds. That is a sign that we are trying to make progress in Krishna consciousness. But everybody begins this Krishna consciousness from a neophyte platform. We start school from class 1. You can't jump. Of course, some people are so brilliant that when they send it to class 1, they do better than all of them, so they promote them to class 2. And some people are even so brilliant, they send it to class 2, they're still better, they send it to class 3, but they are rare. Such souls are rare. We all begin from class 1. We all begin from the neophyte stage. But we should not remain on the neophyte stage for too long. If we remain on the neophyte stage for too long, we begin to think that Krishna consciousness does not work. And we may begin to lose our faith. And we may even give up Krishna consciousness. Many people have come. Many people got initiated. But where are they today? They've all left because they did not take this process very seriously. And so Krishna did not give them the taste for chanting. And they felt this Krishna consciousness doesn't work. Let me find somewhere else to go. That's a very unfortunate position. Of course, Krishna says, Nehabe karma nasasti. Even the little that they have performed in this devotional life, in this lifetime, they will continue in their next life. So nothing is lost. Just by stepping into the temple, hearing the holy name, taking prasadam, seeing the deities, it's progress. In the next life, they will continue from 3%, 4%, 10%, 20%, whatsoever. That is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. Next, Prabhu. One who by practice likes to chant Krishna's name should be accepted as a Vaishnava. One who is interested in chanting the holy name of Krishna, or who by practice likes to chant Krishna's name, should be accepted as a Vaishnava and offer respects as such, at least within one's mind. One of our friends, a famous English musician, has become attracted to chanting the holy names of Krishna. And even in his records, he has several times mentioned the holy name of Krishna. At his home, he offers respects to preachers of Krishna and also to the preachers of Krishna consciousness. In all regards, he has a very high estimation for Krishna, Krishna's name and Krishna's activities. Therefore, we offer our respects to him without reservation. For we are actually seeing that this gentleman is advancing gradually in Krishna consciousness. Such a person should always be shown respect. That is Harrison. It's George Harrison. George Harrison is a musician. In the beginning, he used to chant the holy name on his records. Actually, with the devotees in the temple, he had a album called the Hare Krishna Temple. Very nice song. So Prabhupada is appreciating, and actually it's Joy Harrison who donated the manor, the building in Manor, which is the biggest preaching in Europe, in London, in England and Europe, was donated by this devotee, simply because he started chanting the holy name in his records, in his music, and gradually he became very advanced. In fact, he never took formal initiation, but Prabhupada had initiated him from within his mind, because Prabhupada used to say, you are Hari's son. Hari's son, that his name is Harrison. Prabhupada said, you are Hari's son. You are the son of Hari, Lord Hari. So that's the name Prabhupada gave him, Hari's son. He never changed his name, but he had already initiated him from within his mind. So George Harrison became a dear disciple of Prabhupada, and he served Prabhupada in such an amazing way by donating the Bhakti Vedanta Manor, which is the biggest preaching. Even the new Prime Minister of Britain, he worships at that temple. He goes there. Before he went for his final election, he went there and took darshan of the deities there and went to see Prabhupada, Galande Prabhupada, and then he sought Prabhupada's blessing. And then before he was elected the Prime Minister of Britain. So our Krishna consciousness is making inroads. Politicians are taking shelter of Krishna. And Prabhupada actually prescribed, he said, when politicians are wearing tilak, when politicians are taken to Krishna consciousness, then we should know that things will become good. Because a devotee thinks of the welfare of everyone. Those who are not devotees, they only think about themselves, their families, their friends, and that's it. They don't care what happens to the rest of the people. Only a Vaishnava is paradukha dukhi. He is concerned about the welfare of everyone. Next, Prabhu, text 47, slide 47. So unless one faithfully chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Krishna does not reveal himself. Very important. When one fully engages in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he gradually realizes his own spiritual identity. Unless one faithfully chants the Hare Krishna mantra, Krishna does not reveal himself. We cannot realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by any artificial means. We must engage faithfully in the service of the Lord. Such service begins with the tongue, which means that we should always chant the holy names of the Lord and accept Krishna Prasad. We should not chant or accept anything else. When this process is faithfully followed, the Supreme Lord reveals himself to the devotee. So the tongue has two functions: to vibrate, talk, and to taste. And in our Krishna consciousness movement, we have the perfect engagement of the tongue. Just speak about Krishna, just chant Krishna's name, and accept Krishna Prasad. If you just use the tongue for these two activities, you're already a very advanced devotee. Very simple. And therefore, that's why Prabhupada said, this Krishna consciousness is so easy that even a child can participate. A child, he can chant Hare Krishna, and he can take prasadam. And as such, it's easy for everyone. And Krishna reveals himself to that person who is trying to control the tongue. And we see in our first mantra to this verse, it is described how the tongue, the belly, and the genitals are in one line. So if you can control the tongue, you can control the belly. If you can control the belly, you can control your genitals. So everything begins from the tongue. Those who cannot control their genitals, it means they cannot control their eating, and it means they cannot control their tongue. So this process of Krishna consciousness is very scientific. If you learn how to control the tongue by accepting only Krishna Prasad and only talking about Krishna consciousness, your belly will be controlled and you will not have a problem controlling your genitals. Everything begins with the tongue. Slide 48. Next slide. When one realizes himself to be the eternal servant of Krishna, he loses interest in everything else. When a person realizes himself to be an eternal servant of Krishna, he loses interest in everything but Krishna's service. Always thinking of Krishna, devising means by which to spread the holy name of Krishna, he understands that his only business is spreading the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Such a person is to be recognized as an Uttama Adhikari, and his association should be immediately be accepted according to the 6 processes. Dadati Pradigrinahati. Indeed, the advanced Uttama Adhikari, Vaishnava, devotee, should be accepted as a spiritual master. Everything one possesses should be offered to him, for it is enjoined that one should deliver whatever he has to the spiritual master. So an Uttama Adhikari is a person who is eager to spread Krishna consciousness. He wants to expand Krishna consciousness. That is a symptom of an advanced consciousness, because he sees that the whole world is suffering. He sees that every living entity is suffering, and the solution is Krishna consciousness. So he is eager to spread the message of Krishna consciousness to everyone so that they can all become fortunate. So that is an Uttama Adhikari, always planning how to expand the preaching so that others can benefit. Next slide. I think it should be the last slide. How to recognize an Uttama Adhikari. When a person realizes himself to be an eternal servitor of Krishna, he loses interest in everything but Krishna. Krishna service. Always thinking of Krishna, devising means by which to spread the holy name of Krishna. He understands that his only business is spreading Krishna consciousness. Such a person is to be accepted according to the sixth. We already read this one. So 50. We already read this one. 50. 50, the last but one. Text 50, slide 50, okay. Who qualifies to accept disciples? Srila Rupa Goswami advises the devotee to be intelligent enough to distinguish between the Kanista Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. The devotee should also know his own position and should not try to imitate a devotee situated on a higher platform. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has given some practical hints to the effect that an Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava can be recognized by his ability to convert many fallen souls to Vaishnavism. One should not become a spiritual master unless he has attained the platform of Uttama Adhikari. A neophyte Vaishnava or a Vaishnava situated on the intermediate platform can also accept disciples, but such disciples must be on the same platform, and it should be understood that they cannot advance very well towards the ultimate goal of life under his insufficient guidance. Therefore, a disciple should be careful to accept an Uttama Adhikari as a spiritual master. So here, Rupa Goswami and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur is giving us an insight that an Uttama Adhikari should be a spiritual master. And one should not accept a Kanista Adhikari as a spiritual master or even a Madhyama Adhikari as a spiritual master, because such a devotee is not sufficiently knowledgeable in Krishna consciousness, and so he may not be able to guide the disciples to advance quickly. But an Uttama Adhikari who is full in Krishna conscious knowledge, who is full in his realizations of Krishna consciousness, can give guidance. So one must be selective in accepting an Uttama Adhikari in the practice of Krishna consciousness. And that takes us to the last slide, I guess, the last slide, 51. Last slide. Sanika Prabhu, the last slide. Yeah, the last slide. The essence of verse 5. In order to intelligently apply the sixfold loving reciprocations mentioned in text 4, one must select proper persons with careful discrimination. The three kinds of devotees, Kanista, Madhyama, and Uttama. Kanista Bhakta has received initiation, interested only in worshiping the deity, but does not know how to behave with the devotees. His faith is soft and pliable. Soft and pliable means it's not very strong. He can easily be converted. That's a neophyte devotee, a Kanista. A Madhyama Adhikari is initiated, fully engaged in devotional service. Krishna is the object of his love. He makes friends with devotees, merciful to the innocent, and avoids the envious. Shastric knowledge is very strong and staunchly faithful. So the Madhyama Adhikari has strong faith, he has a strong philosophy, and he cannot be converted, he cannot be changed. And then the Uttama Adhikari is the topmost devotee. His heart is clean. He has no interest in blaspheming others. He is eager to expand Krishna consciousness in order to bring many people to Krishna, many souls to Krishna. He should be accepted as guru. His association should be desirable, and he should be served with all sincerity. And so that brings us to the end of this lesson. If there are any comments or questions, they are welcome. If there are no comments, we call it a day until next Sunday. Then we look at lesson 4, which is text 6, 7, and 8. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Though I am not part of the group, but I have a question. Can I, with your permission?
Hare Krishna, happy to see you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, my only question is, in all talks today, we spoke about the three kinds of devotees,
Yeah,
Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttam.
yeah.
So we I believe that I am still at the first level. But when I
Okay.
see some devotees, because we have the characteristics you have spoken about,
Yeah,
that Kanishta Adhikari, he only believes or he only worship the deities,
deity in the temple. Yeah,
but he doesn't give respect to characteristics also. Upon this particular character, when we see such kind of devotee, what should be our mood? Though we are not at a Madhyam level or even Uttam level, so that we can correct them. But then when we see, what do we just ignore them, or we should guide them? What should be
you have to
our
guide
mood?
them. You have to guide them. The Vaishnava is a well-wisher of everyone. So if you see someone who is critical about devotees, who is not trying to help others become Vaishnavas, we should call him aside. You don't talk to him in the public. If you talk to him in the public, he might get angry and might not even listen. So call him aside and let him understand. See, we are all beginning from one, and we are all making progress. So if you see that somebody is making some mistakes because he doesn't know, if he knows, he will not make those mistakes. So you should know how to address it and do it in such a way you don't discourage him. And we discourage people in their practice of Krishna consciousness, what do we gain? The purpose of correction, the purpose of talking is to bring the person to a higher level. So therefore, if somebody is a neophyte devotee and is criticizing others, he's talking about others, the best thing is you invite him separately, privately, and bring it to his knowledge. If he's humble enough, he will accept and he will change. But if he thinks he has become so advanced by criticizing others, by finding fault with others, he may not even take your advice. He will continue with that kind of life and to his own doom, because if we criticize devotees, if we insult devotees, Krishna will tolerate us for some time, but at a certain point, Krishna will push us away. And we have seen that happen many times. Devotees come, devotees go, because they commit all kinds of offenses, and Krishna cannot tolerate it. He pushed them aside because they are becoming offenders to the devotees. So our duty as Vaishnavas is to try to help others, and then they listen. That is that is the advantage. If they don't listen, we have done our part. Krishna will take care of the situation.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. So you heard my story. You heard a story. We had a program yesterday in Indian lady's house.
I heard, Maharaj. I heard. I'm very happy to hear that.
So we have actually sowed a seed. Sowed a seed.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. After so many years.
The men refused to attend the class. Only we ladies and children. They were not bothered. We presented Krishna conscious philosophy from the Bhagavad Gita. But the gentleman was in the bedroom and he was hearing the talk. He came out. Came out and participated in the class to some degree. And then at the end, he came to me and said, Swamiji, I'm very happy that you came to my house and you speak Bhagavad Gita. Anytime you come to Sierra Leone and Liberia, my house is open for you. You can have classes here.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So I dashed in my Bhagavad Gita. I said, take this and keep it.
Now there is a reason to go back. There is a reason to go back.
So we are happy that we had the program yesterday. And I'm sure the ladies will go and tell their husbands what happened. And I'm sure our next program we're going to have, many of them will attend.
Yeah, so we should make endeavor for in near future,
Yeah.
that
And I'm just thinking about you. If you were here with your seminars, you will catch everybody. So next time we'll come together.
Even when you were narrating that, I was just thinking about the same thing. Anyway, Krishna will arrange something somewhere, sometime.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your support. And Krishna, I'm grateful. So Mataji has a question.
Yeah, that you said that there are some, we should forgive the devotees, and that I want to know that if we know that the opposite person, the devotee, he hates us, like their behavior and all that, then how to manage to talk to them, or that we know that if you do anything good also they take it wrong. So how?
Yes. You see, we have different degrees of conditioning. We have different degrees of coverings. And that is the problem. So to the degree the living entity is covered by the modes of nature, especially the lower modes, the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance, the more he becomes very proud and very envious and very antagonistic. That is there. So when you are trying to even advise such a devotee, because of the covering, he will not take it. He sees you as an enemy. He's very envious. So we should always bear this in mind, that different devotees, different people are conditioned differently. And before we even talk to them, we should pray to Krishna, that, my dear Krishna, you are in his heart as Paramatma. You are in my heart as a Paramatma. My desire is not to ridicule him. My desire is not to offend him. My desire is to help him. So please, Krishna, kindly help me to impart some knowledge, some correction to this devotee. When you pray like this and you do your seva, if he accepts it, all well and good, that's wonderful. If he rejects it, Krishna sees your mind. Krishna sees your intention. And Krishna will reward you for making that attempt. And he will take the consequence. He will suffer the reaction because you have made an attempt to help him or her, but he refused.
No, I just want to ask that I don't want to help or anything, but if you talk also, they feel that is not good what they're saying.
Yes. So, yes, you see, the fact is, some people have entrenched positions. They have taken certain stand and they will not listen to anybody. So if you identify such people, there is no need to waste your energy. That's what I would say. If you identify people who don't want to listen, they don't want to take any instruction, they don't want to take any advice, why waste your valuable energy in talking? You only talk to somebody who is prepared to take some advice, to take some correction, to make some progress. Otherwise, you are just wasting your energy. So if the fellow is not ready to take any advice, then we should just leave him. We should pray. We should pray to Krishna. Krishna, please help this soul. You are in his heart. Help him to become a better devotee. That's all that we can do. We can pray to Krishna to help him, but we should not bother about him because he will not listen.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna,
so much.
Hare Krishna. Any other comment or question? Otherwise, we call it a day. Thank you very much. We wish everybody a beautiful Sunday in Krishna consciousness.
Ask all of the devotees to please kindly unmute, loudly chant a loud Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to appreciate His Grace Srivas Vanacari for this beautiful class. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Vanchakalpatra Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paritanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Hare
Because Vanacari to be
Bye.
free. Yeah.
See all of you next week.
Bye.